What up, perps? Kid Copious back in effect. Purple State Party. You know what we're trying to do here. We're trying to rep America, the center, common sense, freedom. Speaking of freedom, I got a great idea. How about we just make July Freedom Month? We focus on our history, our proud history, how we got here. But this isn't just freedom for like white cis males. No, freedom for everyone, of every color, of every orientation, and especially women, because y'all under attack right now. I feel it. Let's do this and let's get this show pop-a-lacking. As Elon said, it's weird and getting weird fast. He may have been talking about AI or this week. I mean, the stuff in Russia, the stuff with the Bidens, the submarine going kabloom, implosion, not explosion. And one of the weird ones I read this week came out of the Express. Children identifying as cats in school can wear tails and ears, but not trainers. This is from overseas, Trainers, tennis shoes. There you go. Your Jordans. You can't wear your Jordans, but you can wear tails and ears. And even worse, the teacher called a 13-year-old girl despicable because she refused to accept that her classmate identified as a cat. These are the choices that you make. If you want to identify as a furry, if you want to wear your outfit to college and crawl around on all fours through the commons, people are going to make fun of you. All right. If you accept that as part of the deal, then fine, great. But that's not the way it is. We can't just have every single person claiming to have some sort of quirk and they should be allowed to do whatever they want. I don't care. I mean, if you're talking about like little kids wanting to dress up like cats and go to school, like, okay. If people want to laugh, okay. If people don't necessarily want to believe that you are a cat, well, come on. There needs to be some line in the sand. If you feel like a cat and you want to dress like a cat, dress like a cat. But don't try to make the world say that you're a cat, because you're not. This one popped up. This is the madness that we face now in this country, that a sense of betrayal, liberal dismay as Muslim-led U.S. city bans pride flags. Because they thought they were being liberal. They thought, hey, let's show our support for that culture and vote these people into power, And you can see how the media viewed it and probably more than likely encouraged it. They viewed the power shift and diversity as a symbolic but meaningful rebuke of the Islamophobic rhetoric that was a central theme of then Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump's campaign. Yeah, okie dokie. But they're not allowing pride flags. Does this get the kind of attention it deserves? No, because this makes their side look bad. So therefore, some people are going to report it, but then other people are going to try to bury it, leave it off to the side. It doesn't fit the narrative. That's the problem. That's the problem. You hand people power, and then all of a sudden, there's a power shift, and only one voice is being heard, and you end up with stuff like this. And this is Democrats. These are people who had a D next to their name, who said, well, nobody likes it. And as you can see, and I'm not going to read it out loud, but if you look at the screen, you'll see some of the taunting that went on over there. And this is from people who were seen as liberal. This is the problem. We know what does and doesn't work. And what's going on over there doesn't work. I never thought Michigan would be a place for that kind of craziness. I didn't think it'd be at the forefront of... I always figured it'd be conservative. But I guess if you get enough people and enough money, the Democrats show interest. Speaking of things that they wish they could bury, but this one's going to be kind of hard to bury. But, they're cleaning up Hunter's gun charges and tax charges. He's not going to do any time. It's all, clean it up before 2024 so that the Republicans can't use it against him. Well, you're imposing rules and regulations on gun owners, and your own son violates them, and you're like, nope, slap on the wrist. Same thing with taxes. Oh, you go on. Oh, the rich need to pay their taxes. This guy doesn't. Does he go to jail? No. But as you can see by the chyron at the bottom there, other people aren't so lucky. The judge finds Hunter Biden guilty of being a lovable little rascal with a heart of gold. No, he wasn't. Have you ever watched a mob movie? That's how these powerful people move. They don't do the work themselves. They get underlings. And I mean, Hunter Biden, come on. That dude will do anything for a buck. He is a prime candidate. But just like in the movies, one little thing can bring it all down. They play it off, we're going to bury the Hunter Biden laptop and all this, but that behind the scenes where the cameras aren't, Joe's fucking pissed about the laptop. God damn it. God damn it, Hunter. Why would you keep all of that on a laptop and then leave it at a repair shop? Because that's what brings down these kind of empires. And people say to me, especially my brother who's a liberal, why should we care about this? And he wants to go on about Trump's documents. Well, Trump's documents don't really affect me. I don't see how they would. I don't see how they could. They're not. Anything top secret in there is already well known to most of our enemies. So I'm not too worried about that. But how far this guy sold us out, and what kind of philosophies are they pushing? Biden is being backed and maneuvered by people who believe in socialism. Like Churchill says, socialism is the philosophy of failure, the creed of ignorance, and the gospel of envy. It's a philosophy of failure. We already know this, but that's where he's leading us. Hunter seen at courthouse trying to weigh crack on Lady Justice's scale. But photos place this guy, among all of his other things, they place him at his father's house the day he invoked his dad's name to a Chinese business partner. He was on the phone with his Chinese business partner to come down on him with the full weight of his business partner if the business partner did not fulfill his commitment. It's a message sent to this guy, Henry, excuse me. We would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. Who's the we? I think we know. 10% for the big guy, we know what's going on. This should concern people. We don't know how far we've been sold down. And then right after that, shortly after that message was sent, $5 million started going through a bunch of different avenues, all coming back to Biden. You spread it out, you hide it, you confuse the paper trail, the shell game. Well, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? This is what criminal enterprises do. That's how you launder money through businesses. These people think about how to do it. You buy like a stupid ass business that could be a cash business. You just get yourself like a cell phone repair shop. You dummy up a bunch of sales and you report your illegal money that way. These guys do it by putting it through all of these different shell corporations and claiming that this person got this salary and all kinds of things like that. That's how they do it. And that's what looks like has happened here. But as the whistleblower Shapley says, the decisions included slow walking investigative steps, not allowing enforcement actions to be executed. He's talking about warrants to go after these people, to figure out this money trail. But it's been blocked by the FBI, the IRS, the Department of Justice. This is a problem when our law enforcement is working for one party. I mean, if you think that's a good thing, look at Michigan. Look what they did. Look what they may do. You give them power, and they're just going to impose their will on you. Of course, Hunter Biden's attorney comes out and labels the release as illegal. I think we have a right to know. He says, of course, any verifiable words or actions of my client in the midst of a horrible addiction are solely his own and have no connection to anyone in his family, which is exactly why he was picked. Because you can just throw up, look, he's a mess, man. We can't be responsible for him, man. Joe knows what he's doing. They have been doing this for quite a while. This investigation concerns back when he was vice president. Who knows what he's doing right now? But then again, his Hunter's lawyer, the Department of Justice investigation covered a period which was a time of turmoil and addiction for my client. Right. Okay. This is talking about the involvement of his father, right? And who's benefiting? I don't know. Taiwan kicking itself for not bribing the Bidens. I mean, China's getting its way. China manufactures a lot of this miraculous green energy components that we need. And all of a sudden, Biden's throwing us headfirst in there, committing billions of dollars. And then he signs a thing that says, okay, well, I'm going to allow Americans to build this stuff, especially semiconductors, basically saying, hey, in case you don't realize it, we're going to give them Taiwan. We won't be able to use their semiconductors, so we better start building them over here. He's tipping his hand to that. But meanwhile, where are all the panels coming from? Where are the batteries coming from? Where are the windmills coming from? Coming from China. And here you go. Zelensky admits he's already spent the next 3 accounting errors. Yeah, we found an accounting error, and now we can send him more money. But that gravy train might be ending kind of soon. I mean, he'll just, Zelensky and his cronies will just pretty much have to, pilfer the aid that will be flowing into the country once this war's over, because Wagner fighters are already advancing towards Moscow amid speculations over Putin's whereabouts. European leaders convene emergency meetings in response to chaos in Russia. They're closely watching the unfolding battle between President Putin and the chief of the Wagner Group, a private mercenary group. They got a lot of private mercenary groups over there. The UK Ministry of Defense, the MOD, over the coming hours, the loyalty of Russia's security forces, and especially the Russian National Guard, will be key to how the crisis plays out. Here from the Telegraph, Russia is on the verge of total disintegration as local elites scramble for an escape. They've already seized a town. And one of the reasons why this is, we need to look at it through the eyes of how it actually works, is one of the reasons why when the Soviet Union collapsed, we didn't really see it coming. We knew it was possible, but we didn't realize how quickly that was going to happen. And it was mainly because one certain guy, Yeltsin, had his Russian Federation. It was a faction, sort of like our political parties, except they all had their own private armies. Okay, that's part of the problem. So you got all these people with their own private armies. So you don't necessarily have one guy, Putin, in charge of everything. He may be in charge of a lot, but that is all dependent on the loyalty of the people who are right below him in charge of those people. I find that's interesting. They're talking about the Russian Federation. It appears united. Putin's approval ratings hover around 80%, and his most vocal opponents are in exile or in prison. There are no meaningful opposition parties or critical newspapers. That's what we're heading towards, folks. So people rallied to their leaders during war, and the effective sanctions actually gave Putin more control over the economy. But that's his vulnerability. also, because if he loses the people, then it makes it a lot easier for other people to just fill the vacuum. Now, look, I don't know if these other people are going to back the war in Ukraine. Are they going to take the Crimea? We don't know. But it does look like it's starting to fall apart. This is a tinderbox where you have all of these regions and republics that don't necessarily like how they're being represented by their government. Like it says, they've had enough of a Muscovite clique, which seizes their natural resources, conscripts their young men, and offers them nothing in return. And that's, again, where I see us heading if the far left Democrats get their way. But this is the part that blew me away. There have been reports that large corporations such as Gazprom have been building private armies, presumably in anticipation of having to defend their assets. Oh, shit. See, Gazprom, I watch soccer, so I see Gazprom. It's on par with like a Chevron or an Exxon or something like that. Huge, ginormous energy company. And they have a private army. That's crazy, man. And that's why what's going on over there could just all of a sudden change everything over that part of the world. But we have to see. We don't know who, as it says here, the generals and admirals who hold the other half of the nuclear codes are maneuvering. Okay? The power is, it's a different method over there. We can't look at Russia and use ourselves as an example. That's just fools. Fools! I have to feature, oddly enough, a Democrat from Michigan here, Slotkin. It's breathtaking, she says about the events there. And it's the clearest public confirmation of the folly of Putin's invasion of Ukraine. It's funny how Biden's going to end up looking like a genius on this whole thing. But it is like us using armed defense contractors and then those contractors turning around and marching on Washington. It's I would say it's straight out of the movie, but I can't tell you which movie it is. But I mean, private armies, man. I think that happened in McBain. Some guy sees control of the military and then took over Colombia. But I'm digressing. But they may reach Moscow in hours. I mean, this is even during Operation Barbarossa, Hitler wasn't able to reach Moscow. But this is, they've taken the city of Rostov-on-Don. I mean, who knew? Who knew? I mean, I really did not think that Ukraine was getting out of this. But, this kind of stuff might bring them back, the Russians back to the negotiation table or something. I don't know. But I can't believe when I read this, former MI6 agent Christopher Steele. Is this the same guy from the Steele dossier? Because what are we should not be listening to this guy, all right? But, the Russians have the planes right now. This is crazy. This is going to move fast. I'm going to pivot from the world back to my little corner of the world. Newsom, a lot of people said that he destroyed Hannity, but when you put some of his numbers to the test, like he says, we've got all of this growth. We have all of these. We have the most startups. Well, because we have a lot of people. In reality, per capita, when you average it all out, we're ranked 29th. Florida, 3rd. Texas, 15. Okay, manipulating numbers. Yeah, we have a lot, but based on how many people we have, of course we're going to have a lot. We have more people than Florida and Texas. Right? Best GDP growth rate as one of the... He says California has one of the best GDP rates. But he took it right after COVID recovery, where everything spiked back up again. So everybody, and it's true, they had second best, trailing only Tennessee. But when you look at something else, it's a totally different story. Tourism spending has declined by 12%. It's the worst decline of any state. In contrast, Florida has gone up 9%. So if we kill the tourist industry in California, yeah, that's going to change a lot of things. Yeah, we'll see. The LA Times is trying to help Mr. Newsom with his deficit. Close the prisons and cut spending. We could save money by not refurbing some of these prisons, but you want to put the money into community projects. We need to build a better and bigger prison. It's quite simple. I mean, if our prisons are so old that they're so expensive to fix, then we should be building a new one. Much like we should be building a reservoir. But what are we doing? We're building a fucking train. Well, that's going to be the thing. That's the interesting part. How much are we going to be spending on our bullet train that won't be a bullet train when we have a huge deficit? I don't know. But they're saying one of the reasons you can't close the prisons is because of jobs. And this whole article wants to say, well, I'll let them sum it up. This would alleviate some economic anxiety for rural communities that see prison employment as good jobs, despite evidence to the contrary. Okay, but they're jobs. You see, they're jobs. What are they going to do? Green energy. That's always the answer. Right. The mythical green energy company that's going to move into your town and start assembling stuff there. Right. I don't think that's going to happen. Why would somebody want to start manufacturing in California? I mean, some of the worst regulations from a business standpoint. The shit's already coming from China. So they dangle these, we'll help you out, and then they just pull them back. But, they have a history of this, of just hype and hysteria and saying something and everybody just believing it, nobody ever looking at it, nobody ever applying common sense. The climate change timeline. Look at all those different things they predicted. Places underwater, New York City flooded, snow disappearing, catastrophic explosion in 20 years, mass extinction, famines, all of this stuff. They just keep spitballing it. But like good socialists, they don't like history. So, of course, Greta Thunberg deleted her account that said the world would be over in 5 years from 5 years ago. Look, we need to clean up our act. I'm all for that, man. I don't think we should be polluting our waterways. We shouldn't be polluting our ocean. We should do our damnedest to not pollute our air. But if we're going to move with these radical shifts in philosophy, it's never going to work. We need to slowly and surely move somewhere. I know that's not good enough for Just Stop Oil. They're going to go out and block traffic and shit. But the reality of the situation is they are whipping people into a needless frenzy by using these predictions that since the 60s have failed. Every prediction has failed. Thank God it failed, right? But at the same time, let's not operate off of hyperbole. They're moving too fast. It's catastrophic. It's going to cost people too much. And at the end of the day, it might not actually work. And anybody who thinks that electric vehicles are the answer doesn't know the numbers, and they don't know how much pollution actually goes into those things. And I've mentioned history a lot, and this was a quote from Orwell. Whatever. The most effective way to destroy people is to deny and obliterate their own understanding of their history. Elon Musk. True, that's happening in schools today. Slavery did not begin and end in America. America is not the sole cause of climate change. We're not. We're trying our best to clean it up, but we are sacrificing a lot to achieve something that is only going to make a minimal difference. You could see the cynicism in other countries. The fact that China is going so green, but yet not reducing their emissions. You can see it. America has a wonderful history of confronting and overcoming. But you want to strip that away. You want to make it out like America's the bad guy. You want to rewrite the Darth Vader story. Make the Empire the good guys. Okay, good luck with that. Yeah, we're skipping that. I don't care about that. You know, as we talked about how things seem like they're straight out of a movie, right now script writers are on strike. And some of the things that they want involve more writers on set. You know, having this team that moves forward with the screenplay. Because the more writers you have, the more opinions you have, the more experiences you can draw upon. And teams make better product. Maybe not in music, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about scripted things right now. Our government needs to do that. And our government was founded on that very idea, that you need these different divergent opinions to come up with a good product. We know one party, this socialist dream, one party just doesn't work. It doesn't. And if the two parties can't or won't see the middle, then someone needs to seize the middle and get us back on track. We are off track, going down a slope. We're going down. No matter how much they want to try to convince us that we're going up, we are going down. We are losing our American identity. And if we lose that, we're going to end up no better than Putin, China, Cambodia, Vietnam, Iran. That's not who we are. We're Americans, and we need to remember that America fought for its independence. We weren't given our independence. We fought for it. And we need to continue to fight for it. We need to continue to fight for what makes the most sense. Hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe. Would love to multiplies. I'm Kid Copious. I'm Purple State. And so are you. Love one another. Hit it, Steve.